committee meeting, which I think we've been very successful in meeting probably about every other day. Like maybe once a year. I appreciate the agenda that we have before us. I hope you all have had an opportunity to look at this. How do we certify that we have a quorum?
3 people is the quorum.
Okay. I'll do. I'll do like famous chair, Mr. Nelson does. Let's just go around the table and introduce ourselves. Make sure I'm clear at the report. I assume we would also have to put in a motion to vote Dave in. Is that correct? Okay. So let's do the introductions first. I'm not city.
Timothy Martin, Director of Transportation, GRTC.
Barb Smith, Chesterfield.
Roy Hughes, Henrico County.
Kevin Hernandez, Chief Operating Officer with GRTC.
Adrian Torres, staff, GRTC.
If no one's maintenance, GRTC.
Game Studios Customer Service, GRTC.
Yes, sir. Director of IT, GRTC.
David Wild, IT.
On the call.
Catherine Newman, Mobility Manager, GRTC. Ashley Fernandez, General Manager with eDriving.
Benny Wagner, City of Richmond Public Works.
Okay, good.
Two online.
Two persons online.
Yes.
All right. Do you all want to introduce yourselves?
Dave Anderson from Chesterfield County online.
Josh Diamond from WSP to talk about the paratransit operational analysis.
All right. So I guess the next thing would be, before we have the public comments, let's we have a request from Mr. Anderson to join the meeting virtually. Is there a motion? First, I guess he has to identify himself and why he's calling, where he's calling in from. Is that the procedure? Dave?
I am here. Did you ask how things are going?
I think that this is the way we do it at the city. We identify why we're doing a meeting virtually and from what
Right.
location.
Right. I am virtual on my phone. I am literally driving back from physical therapy a day after my wife's knee replacement surgery. That's the reason I can't be with you together.
I certainly hope her knee heals well, and I know that you're doing your best to take care of her as well.
Thank you. I'm doing my best. I fall short, but I'm doing my best.
Is there a motion?
We'll move.
Is there support? Okay, Dave, you're in the meeting. Thank you so much. Be careful driving.
Y'all made my day. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so we have the agenda before us. Are there any considerations for amendments or changes to the agenda? But, all right, fine. Then we will move to the public comment period. Anyone signed up for public comments? Anyone online that want to speak to the committee at this time? Anyone? Okay. All right, then with that, we'll move to the agendas, beginning with the performance reports.
All right. Wait. Cool. All right. So good afternoon, everybody. We'll be going through the operations performance review from the month of November in detail. So at the board meeting, you would normally hear me going through all these statistics and metrics. I've invited my team to join me today to give a little bit more context and story behind the metrics. So you won't just hear me talking today. So we'll go ahead and get started with, well, the agenda for the PowerPoint. We got the fixed route, mobility, safety and security, and our fleet maintenance. So we'll jump right into transportation, to our fixed route operations, and I will turn the table over to our Director of Transportation, Tim Martin.
Good afternoon. All right. Here comes the fun discussion of numbers, what we do here. So the current chart you're looking at is from October and November. November showed a slight increase in our fixed route employees. We are currently slated to have 320 to 325 fixed route full-time operators. We are falling a little short. A lot of that has to do with attrition. Some of the things that are holding us back right now to reach that number, obviously, is going to be operators coming in, training, filling in spots that need to be addressed. We do have a few vacancies, but we're doing our best that we can with the operators that we have. We have operators, not only the vacancies, but we're dealing with the standard absenteeism, FMLA, holiday scheduling impacts, and the seasonal sick usage. Each of these, I apologize. Each of these are being addressed individually. You see that there is a drop in percentage of ridership. However, we are maintaining, which is well above the 95%. That is in larger transit agencies. So we're good on that, even though the chart kind of shows that heavy swoop down. We do have some vacancies that we need to fill, and that will put us up to where we need to be. To support the long-term stability, we currently have 2 operators in right now with fixed route with 10 trainees, and we have our microtransit, which we'll speak on here coming up next. We have a class that's getting ready to graduate there. So by adding those operators into the schedule, it's definitely going to greatly improve and increase the slight downfall that we've got here that we're looking at.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Scheduled trips, 54 and 50, and then actual trips, 473, 967. What does that mean?
So scheduled trips for October and November.
Oh, I see what it is. So that's the actual trips that we did not perform. So we did not perform 967 trips in November compared to 473 from the month of October. So we'll make that clear.
So are you saying you're not making trips because the staffing is down, or?
So there's a lot of factors that hit that, and yes, staffing is an issue, but we have the other issues that actually fall into that lineup, which would be sick leave, FMLA, holiday scheduling, and obviously the seasonal sick time. So when these operators are calling out, that leaves the trips open. Now, we do our best to fill these trips. A lot of them are AM, PM with splits. So there are operators that are working in the day that we can fill in the afternoon. We're utilizing our part-time employees to capacity that we can actually use them for. But again, I mean, I'm not making any excuses other than what is the factual outcome of this, and which is going to be the employees not being at work due to those circumstances.
And about the consumer,
So
how does that impact those?
it definitely impacts the consumer. Customer service is very busy with the explanations. We're coaching and training our customer service employees how to handle situations like that.
I think we did put out a statement that we had to reduce some frequencies potentially. on some of the routes, certain days of the week related to what Tim just explained, which is some of the staffing shortages that we have and compounded by the absenteeism related to.
So we went through some of the routes that have 15-minute frequencies. There may be a block missing there, so that 15-minute frequency turns into a 30-minute frequency, and then that's explained through our customer service call. So if you're expecting a bus at 3, at 3:15, at 3:30, that 3:15 block may not be there. So if we have the ability to fill that block, then we do. But to let the customer know that there's a possibility that that route may not be there, but we are running the following block will be there.
Do you try to figure out like, try to go to routes that aren't as used?
We'll go to routes that aren't as used, or routes that have that 15-minute frequency or 20-minute frequency, and we can pull an operator from that route and put them on a blank route, a route that needs to be filled, that block that needs to be filled.
The problem with that too, though, is like probably the least used routes, they have an hour frequency already. So if you pull a bus from that, then you got 2 hours, but you gotta wait. So you gotta balance that out too.
But typically, we want to go for the routes that have the most frequency that we can borrow from.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna be my question. I mean, I think that makes sense. So, yeah. Tough. I mean, I guess the only way you would be able to not miss any routes with a call out is if you were dramatically overstaffed, right?
Right.
Sitting in the
And I wish that was the problem.
Yeah.
Okay, all righty. Any other questions on the fixed route?
Is that something RideFinders could help with? Like if you had a customer, I don't know, I guess it's sporadic. It's not like a lingering for a week, you have a problem. I was thinking maybe RideFinders.
It is far and few, and then we do our best to utilize any tool that we have.
Okay.
So jumping over to microtransit, which Tim will continue.
All right. So microtransit staffing is not as bad as we looked at just a slide ago on the employees. We are just slightly below target. There is currently hiring in process. We have a class in right now. We built a training calendar so we can keep track of our classes, and in constant communication with our training department as well as operations staff or operations supervisors and management to keep track and keep tally of our employees. We currently have 6 microtransit operators in training right now. Their graduation is slated for
First week of January.
Yeah, I believe it's January the 2nd, January 2nd. Okay.
So they sign once the training is over, or is there still a lag time before they become operators?
Once they graduate training, then they get, and obviously a supervisor will monitor them for a period of time while they're out there, but.
Is there a number of folk that we try to keep in training classes to make sure that we stay at the threshold of
So,
officers that we need?
so communication with operations is our key. Catherine's here now, so she's assisting and helping out very, very well with keeping track of the employees. Like I mentioned, we have built a training calendar, and it's approximately every 8 weeks. Now, this is fluid. Approximately every 8 weeks, we'll put a bus class in effect if needed, followed by 2 weeks after that. Then we look at microtransit if we're needing to build a class. And again, that is fluid. So if we need to move the class a week forward, we can do, or if we need to hold off on that class, we can do that as well.
If I could say something, part of the reason why we're in this position right now is because we had stopped the classes because we were fully staffed and we had a few extras based on the budgeted number. So we thought we were in a good place. And as the fall comes around, people start looking for other positions or retiring. We had quite a few people retire as well as resign. So that's why we started classes back up. But we didn't want to go too far over the number that was budgeted, so we stopped hiring. But now we're gonna go back to where we're having those classes every 8 weeks or however. So yeah, We're gonna build it back up, make sure that we have a pipeline where we have injury.
There's also a slew of non-voluntary
True.
separate. So
There
it
was.
was.
So just one more caveat to that too, just to add to the positivity of it is that there are 2 microtransit operators that have recently been promoted to supervision. So we're gonna have to fill that role, fill their roles there. So they were doing an exceptional job. We will have one of the young ladies that accepted the position will be a microtransit supervisor, and the other lady will be on our fixed route, which is both those positions are very valuable for what we're trying to do here with the growth and development.
You'll get an operator promoted to.
Yes,
full-time
yeah.
training as well.
So we promotions, so
That's good.
that's great.
Remind me, is this similar CDL or is it CDL?
So if microtransit operator is not required. They're required to go through the DOT, the portion of it to get their DOT medical card, but they're not required to have a commercial driver's
I was
license.
the passenger.
Why do you wanna sign up?
Part-time job?
Part-time?
Call me, yeah.
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 Hiring anytime.
For the microtransit app rating, so it works very similar to the way Uber and Lyft. An individual will book a trip. They are able to give us a thumbs up, a rider experience. Right now, we are rolling at 4.9 out of a 5 with customer satisfaction. We've had a total of the data that we're looking at here, 7,314 booked trips. Out of that, we've had 1,073 that have given us the 4.9, and that is only rating 15% of the individuals that have utilized that finalization of their ride. So it's a big number of ridership. It's a low number of people that are participating in the giving the thumbs up or rating your ride. So one thing that we're doing also is we're getting the operator to engage with the use of that app to make sure that the folks that are using that app are familiar with how it uses, and that information will give us good feedback for that service.
That's probably, your response rate is probably within industry standard. I think that's around somewhere between 15 and 20%. It's generally good. I mean, if you're getting that 4.9 out of 5, especially when you're more likely to put a negative review in, I mean, I think that's a good metric.
I feel like with Uber and Lyft, right, you're almost like forced to hit 5 stars or
That's
like,
with Uber, but but it's not on this. Yeah, I mean, if you're getting that kind of review, you're going to hear about all your bad ones. So
And I'm not, Catherine,
Yes,
are we able to see what routes get the most reviews?
we could probably break that down, yes, in a more detailed.
yeah, let's do that. All right.
Yeah, but and like we have similar customer survey stuff. I think it's like 18, 19. Like that's about what you get on feedback. So that's
Any further questions? Microtransit?
We also hired 2 part-time retirees.
oh yeah.
We brought in 2 retirees as part-time link drivers. One was a link driver and she retired, and then one was a big truck driver and has returned to GRTC part-time. So we're excited to have them back.
Cycle continues. All right. Thank you, Tim. We'll jump over to our paratransit with We Drive You. Ashley?
So for comparing November to October, we had 5 more operators in November. Our goal is to be at 125 operators. We are currently at 115. So a few more operators left to schedule. We're working with our recruiting team to bring in operators and to reach our goal at this time.
Was it 115 now, or did it finish out 113 in November?
We finished at, we finished at 113 for the month of November. We're at 115 as of today, in December. So we are seeing our on-time performance when comparing October to November remains stagnant, pretty much 92.04 in October and 92.06 in November. We are meeting our target, but we are still wanting to be well over and surpass our target. The reason being that we did not see an improvement in November from October, having additional operators, is due to the increase in leave of absence, employees, people taking leave, same holiday, same thing that they're experiencing on the fixed route. What we did see was an average of 94 total available operators to us that are not on leave or vacation or sick for October and November. So that number remained the same. But we are still trying to work hard and meet that goal so that it doesn't affect us and go below our target at any point in time.
We'll also note on the PDF version that you may have received, the October number, there was an error on it. So the October number is correct on the screen here.
This pretty typical, because of the holiday season. I mean, November is Thanksgiving and people get at least Thursday and Friday off typically, and people do a lot of traveling, then holidays, Christmas. I mean, is this pretty much a trend that we see during the holiday season?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yes.
And I would assume that ridership, I mean, other companies are closed as well, so you have the same, you may have less riders perhaps during that time as well.
Yes, we did see a decrease of 3,000 less trips in November than October. A little over 3,045 to be exact.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Ashley. Jump over to our safety and security department. We'll start with our customer service unit. Here. So I'll set the stage here for Sakima. So comparing October and November, we had 270 total complaints received compared to 289 in October. So we did to an overall decrease in the number of complaints. 57 were actually verified complaints compared to 67 the month before. So that means after we investigated them, we were able to verify that they were legitimate complaints and verified whatever the complaint was.
So out of the 270, 57, what are the other steps?
All over, everything else. So we go through an investigation process with each complaint. We look at, we play back recordings, audios, depending on the complaint, whether it's a phone call, whether it's something from that they see out on the road. We'll review video footage. We'll look at the GPS, all of that to verify the complaint. Sakim, I don't know, what are some of the phantom complaints that we get?
A lot of them, as far as like bad passengers that comes in, but it's more so when they're not at the bus stop. So let's just say, for instance, if the bus was supposed to be there 1:15 and you are walking to the bus, technically that's not considered as a passenger. It will be more so when they're at the bus stop that the bus drives past and that's.
Although sometimes they don't give us accurate information.
Yeah.
And we sometimes find the incident that happened, or they may not provide enough information. They may not give us a location, or there might be missing information, correct? So we're not able to confirm.
So you are doing comparison. So 270 is what percent, if you did that comparison to the actual number of riders, you would have 0.1% or something like that, you know?
We track it for 100,000 riders. I don't have the number on hand.
I mean, that helps give you, because when you just look at 207, it's like, oh, that's a lot of people complaining.
But relative to.
But over a month, it's not a lot, and then when you compare to the number of passengers that you have, not bad at all, you know, and I think that's important that we be able to recognize what's working well as well.
We can add that.
We can get that.
We have it, it's just not yet. So that's 17% of all complaints were actually verified. We did see 14 accommodations received in November compared to 20 in October. And that's something that we're looking into to see how we can promote more to get more feedback, positive feedback from our riders. But I did want to, I did ask Sakima to get some of the accommodations and read one of them just to kind of hear a story behind this number, because we get accommodations all the time, but I think it's good to actually see the substance. So did you have one, Sakima?
Yes, we did have one more customer say that his operator told me to pick her up at the bus stop because she was not at the bus stop, but was trying to make it there. She excused her the issue, he waited for her to get to the bus and pick her up. So that's one accommodation that we gave them.
So looking at it by mode of service, so fixed route was 52 complaints, which is the same from the month before of October. The majority of the complaints that we get from fixed route are unfortunately the passed up passengers. Back in October, I started talking about the board meeting. We started a task force internally to work towards combating that issue with passing up passengers. So we did see a decrease in that specific category. What was it?
As a passenger for November, we had 10, by October, we had 14. So
But I think we peaked the month before, was it?
and the month before that, I think it was 10.
Yeah.
But I had a question on that. Do you know, do those happen at nighttime more, or are they locations with bus stops, stations? There's no trend. Okay.
It's over. So that's why we had to, because it was all over, it's a system-wide issue with operations. So we created a campaign to bring awareness to the issue to the operators. We're incorporating that back into the refresher trainings as well to make them more aware. We actually shared images of a passed up situation to tell people, like, you see the person standing here at the bus stop and you're here driving past them. Like we're trying to put that image in their heads that this is a serious issue that we need to address.
Because they really should be prepared to stop at every bus stop. So there really isn't an legitimate excuse. Like I said, at night, potentially, if it's dark, the bus stop isn't well lit, then I can understand that possibly.
Okay.
But during the day, you shouldn't be going so fast that you can't stop or you don't see a person there, unless lights can get set and work in the bus stop. If they're there.
Oh, yeah.
The other big chunk of the fixed route are no-shows, which Sakima.
So for the month of November, we had 19. And October, we had 7, but due to the operational challenges and changes, that would have increased because of the time out bus stay.
So the story correlates with what Tim started off with some shortages there. Paratransit went down from 13 to 5. Actually, what's the majority of the complaints that you're getting?
Majority of them that we saw in October were no-show, saying the operators didn't arrive. And a lot of the time we are finding that they waited past the 5-minute no-show time. It's just by the time the person came outside, they were not there. So we did see a decrease in that in November compared to October. And then a couple we have seen less operator complaints as well. We used to get a lot of rude operators. We've worked on that with them. We share the complaints with them in our monthly safety meetings so that they're aware of what's coming into us. And then we also do our coaching per the incident that we received.
So when you have your conference with, when you do your investigation on the complaints, and you find the 17 that you, validated. What's the relationship with the person that actually makes the complaint? Do we talk back to them?
We do, yes.
And must they understand what actually happened? Do we get any retraction or anything like that from them? Or,
So Sakima, you can explain the process, like when,
So we received the complaint follow-up, we call the passenger in regards to whatever is needed. A lot of times, they just want to be heard. A lot of times, when I talk to the person at the end, they receive the information and they just say, thank you for calling us back and just letting us know. So just basically just wanting to be heard in one fashion. So.
microtransit, we had none from November, so.
Good. 4.9.
Yeah, it'll be weird if it went up. All right, so our safety team is not here, so go through this here. So for vehicle operations and safety, we did see an uptick in the number of accidents that we had. We had 62 in November total, compared to 59 in October. 30 of those were deemed preventable accidents, meaning that the actions of the operators contributed to that accident. So 32 of those were out of our control. Breaking it down, so fixed route made the biggest chunk of it, which it normally does, but it stayed stagnant with October with 21 total preventable accidents. Paratransit had a minor uptick to 7, and microtransit also had an uptick to 2. The majority of these incidents we're still seeing fixed objects, meaning striking poles, striking trees, things of that nature. Parked vehicles is another big issue that we're seeing as well. So from the fixed route side, our operators, once the accidents are deemed preventable, they go through a refresher training. So we take them out of service. They go through a refresher training that target that specific situation, so that way they can not repeat that same pattern in the future. The paratransit is a similar process.
Pretty much the same. We take them on a service, we do a retraining. We do have our road supervisors kind of put them in that same scenario again and see where they could have done what they could have done differently in the future to avoid it from occurring again. But it's the same trend as ours.
Unfortunately, if they have to be preventable accidents, they will no longer drive first.
Yes.
Do you have, I guess, do you have anything with regards to severity of the crash and I guess I'll just call it damage? So, I mean, some of these might be minor.
Yeah.
I'm assuming most of them are, but
yeah,
I'm aware of at least one major one that I guess you guys keep trends on those too.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Our director of safety and security has that because we also handle our claims in-house.
Mm-hmm.
So we have, trust me, he tracks the monetary damages pretty closely.
Is there anything that could be shared in the future? Not necessarily.
I think, is it also in your financials, like with parts and stuff? With accidents or no, the insurance?
He does, John tracks how much we pay out, yeah.
We can probably correlate some of that.
Because actually, some of these could be as simple as knocking off a mirror.
Yeah.
You pass into the pole, you knock the mirror off. That's quite a few of them actually, so. But it's still considered an accident, it's still considered preventable.
We had a pretty costly one that was not our fault with a tractor trailer running into the back of our bus. And that bus is currently still being repaired. And it's a big damage.
Yeah, I think those are the ones I'm interested in. The, you know,
You just want to see videos. You want to see videos?
no, just, you know, with regards to passenger safety, driver safety.
Yeah, yeah.
And then anyone outside of the vehicle, from a safety standpoint.
Yeah, but we can correlate some of that.
Okay.
Jumping over to security. So with our public safety officer team. So for the month on the left side here, for the month of November, these are the categories that were documented by the public safety officer. So they have to turn in a report when they address a certain situation. So
Just at one location, or is this?
this is through the system. So they are primarily stationed at the downtown station, but we do have some mobile officers who are going on the post line, some of the targeted routes like the 5, the airport to help out there. So Will Alon as well, correct. So the majority that we're seeing are onboard situations. So what that means is that there's a situation that's stemming on the bus where the operator is requesting assistance from the officer to either get the individual off the bus or just get them to knock off whatever their inappropriate behavior is. We did see 15 trespassing / removals from the system. So what that means is that the individuals were documented to be being removed from the system either for that day, or if it's a repeated situation, they may get a trespass notice, meaning that they cannot ride the system for a certain amount of time.
You getting people just riding, don't seem to be going anywhere?
Yes.
Remember when you're still having that challenge?
It's wide.
So I guess the question is, the customers in that 25, 15 category, is there an association with the customers that are not going anywhere versus just riding? Or do we know?
I would have to look into that one. Yeah. Most of these is not.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
I have a really, really dumb question with respect to if they're essentially rejected the ability to ride. How are they identified with, you know, ID if they're suspended because of those actions? How is that determined when they try to get on the next time on a different bus?
We have an internal process where we call it a ban board. We have images of the that are banned from riding. So we make that available to the operators and supervisors. And so they see this individual, they'll call it in, and they'll have a supervisor or the security officer verify that that person is indeed on board the vehicle. We do have access to live look-in capabilities on the bus cameras. So we can pull up that camera when the operator calls in that situation, and we can compare that to the trespass notice and making sure that's the same person.
For scale standpoint, I'm assuming that the band board is in the neighborhood of dozens of people, not hundreds. Is that fair?
Yes, dozens. Yep. And then the trends between October and November are pretty similar as well. With our public safety ambassadors, we're seeing also similar trends. So they are addressing more of the
between the ambassadors and the
officers. So the officers are the armed personnel that are doing the security services that we contract with. The ambassadors are the unarmed GRTC employees who are supporting and promoting safety through the system with de-escalation techniques. So they're addressing a lot of unruly passengers. So when they're riding the system, they're more mobile. They're throughout the system. So they're riding all day long throughout the system, supporting the operators. We also have them in the control center, helping with CCTV. So looking at the cameras when situations are coming up to help identify certain threats that may be happening. So. All right, any questions about security before I jump into fleet maintenance? This is the last one. So with fleet maintenance, we're still meeting our target, 80% of our preventative maintenance inspections. So David Goins, who's our maintenance manager and trainer. David, can you explain what goes into a preventative maintenance inspection?
Across the board, whether it's a bus or a paratransit vehicle, microtransit, or even support vehicles, it always starts with a visual inspection of the vehicle. I use the term pre-trip inspection. You check it out, make sure it's okay on the outside, inside, bring it in the shop, put it on the lift, in the air, changing the oil. Most people assume it's just an oil change. It's more than that. We want to look at things that could potentially be an issue down the road, help us prevent road calls, any kind of breakdowns like that. From, like I say, outside, inside, all suspension, steering, brakes, tires, anything to do with the vehicle at all.
And you check the vehicles go through PM how frequently?
Oh, yeah, sorry. So the buses are the PM are scheduled every 6,000 miles. The paratransit every 5,000. The support vehicles or microtransit and support vehicles are every 3,000 miles. And that's regulated and kept track of by our maintenance program, RTA. Gives us alerts as to how close, within a certain window, so we can start tracking, monitoring, and make sure we get it in on time.
Quick question. So it says, I guess the goal is above 80%. What are you measuring when you say, what is successful completion? Is that the vehicle came in and then it came out, or what's the?
That the PM got done. So
on time.
On time, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it's when the 6,000 miles hit, did it happen?
But we try our best. We have our system set up to notify us 600 miles out.
Okay.
So about that buses it's coming for a 6,000 mile PM. It starts showing up on my RTA system as a flag, but then 600 miles before it's due. That way I can make sure I got at least 2 days relatively to get that bus in and get it in service.
Okay. So when it's a miss, what happens when I guess, do you have 30 days to get it done or 2 weeks to, like, what's the threshold for when you successfully have done it within the?
I believe that the metric is that we're making sure that we get our PMs completed. So many completed, was 80%, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So many completed a month. It's just having them completed and done. It's not necessarily, we might get a PM done and then be explain. We might bring the bus in and do our preventive maintenance on that. Now, the preventive maintenance has been done. We changed the oil, we checked it over. That work was closed. That job is complete. Now, they may have found some things wrong with the vehicle. That creates another work order. That we work off that work order to make the repairs. The PM is done. So then we follow up with repairs. If it need to be small, may not need it. And they need it done that way. So it's.
So I think his question, I'm sorry, George, Grant's question is what happens if you don't have the bus in there at the 6,000 miles? How much time past that 6,000 miles do you have to make sure you get it done? Is the standard for that?
Well, as soon as possible. I mean, if we don't make the mark, then you see we didn't make the mark. We didn't get the
Yeah.
And what are some of the reasons why you wouldn't be?
Yeah, I guess that's what I was trying to understand. It seems like you're doing the preventative maintenance at some point. So I'm trying to figure out how do you miss.
Sometimes it can get missed, maybe either we held the bus.
Staffing, maybe you don't have.
Yeah, staffing, and then we held the bus. Our fuel station gets it, they get a list of vehicles that we want for the next day. And then they put them on the position where we want, what track we're going more in front of the shop. If that doesn't get done for whatever reason, either somebody missed a number on the whole board or whatever, then we don't get the vehicle. If that happens 2 days in a row, we missed it by 50 miles. We missed it by 50 miles.
Okay, so then that's the miss because you went over the 6.
Yes, we went over instruction.
Okay, so that's okay. That's what I was just trying to understand. What's the?
Yeah, if it goes past if I'm at 600 miles and then it comes in and it's 500 miles past the due mileage. It's 50,000. I do it at 50,500. Then it's past its due.
So you're not giving yourself
no buffer.
a grace.
No, there's no buffer.
Okay. All right. Okay, all right,
I'm
gotcha.
sorry.
Okay,
It's either one time or it's.
oh, okay, I got you. That's what I was trying to understand.
Yeah, yeah.
So it sounds like the maintenance gets done.
It gets done, yes.
Okay.
If it's busy.
You're tough on yourself.
Sorry.
So that translates also to our road call. So for fixed route, the annual average is about 68 roll calls every month. October was 65, November was 61. Paratransit was around 10, the annual average. We had 7 roll calls in November, and October was 5, and none for microtransit. David, can you explain what constitutes a roll call for you guys?
So generally, as with bus or paratransit, microtransit, whatever, even sport vehicles, they break down sometimes as well. What happens on the street with the operator, the driver of that vehicle? They call in, they say, hey, I'm having, I'm hearing a squealing noise in the brakes. Well, that may not necessarily generate a road call, but that's how it starts. And then they contact the radio contacts the shop. We ask, some questions, say, what's going on? What issues are you having? And we got trying to deem whether it needs to be road call or not. If you have something like that, probably doesn't, but you have a school lead, check engine light or stop engine light, as you all know, have those on your vehicles. If we see one of those for our buses, generally it can mean nothing too much. It could be a check engine light. We need to get that operator to write that vehicle up. If you have a stop engine light, now that means the vehicle's going to shut down. They call the radio, say I have a stop engine light, and we have to go get it. So a mechanic out there, and he will assess the situation as whether it's something he can fix, make it back to the shop, or if we need to call back the tow truck. Tow truck goes out there and brings it back to the garage. And that's for all vehicles. We have 2 huge tow trucks for the big buses, and we have a rollback for the small vehicles, air transit and the micro.
Let's track, is it total days out of service or is that?
Oh, well, total days like for a bus
Well, just,
in general.
yeah, like if you have a bus, for example, like for the month, how many days was a bus out of service? Is that something you track or?
I think you have that in your daily sheet. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
We have a daily, out of service sheet that we update per shift.
Okay.
So each shift is updated with its own added to or taken off. And that's in the evening shift, my evening shift foreman, he moves the daily out of service sheet is what we call it, from today, Sunday the 11th. When he does that, he adds in the day it's required. So it will show each vehicle that's out of service, for how many days it's out of service until it comes off. And then once it comes off, it's marked by the week as to what day it came out, went back in service.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So last slide here. So this is tracking our miles between failures. So this metric tells us on average how many miles a bus can run before it experiences a mechanical issue that takes it out of service. So think of this as a measure of vehicle reliability. So in October, our buses ran about 9,000 miles between failures, and in November it decreased to 8,565. For context, the industry standard is around 6,000 miles, so we're still performing well above the typical benchmark in the industry. Our paratransit vans ran about failures, and in November it decreased to about 34,000 miles. And then for context, it's not really industry standard for paratransit, but our baseline year-to-date average is about 27,000. So we're still outpacing our year-to-date. And we're still working to try to get microtransit data for this. We don't have it yet. And a new metric that we're also starting to track is average bus availability for fixed route for each month. So in the month of November, we had 92% of the total available fixed route fleet available. So that means 8% of the vehicles on average were down. So they weren't available for us to use. And that's something we're going to keep tracking month to month to just see how that trend goes. Any questions about that before I jump into?
But you have backup vehicles, right? So
Yes.
something's getting fixed. You
Yep.
just fill in that gap.
I just wanted to end here with our current slate of vehicles that are in production. So these are, most of these have been shared already. So we have 5 motor coach buses that are slated for delivery in Q3 of 2026. These buses are going to have a rear door and a lower deck for ADA access, and they will have a cleaner diesel technology. We have 5 transit vans for microtransit for an expansion. They're due for delivery in Q2. We have 10 vans from Turtle Top that are slated for delivery in Q3. These are a pilot van that have a larger CNG tank. So that way they don't have to, the vans can stay out there longer. They don't have to come back here for refueling as often. Myself and the director of maintenance, Tony Bird, we visited the plant in Indiana recently to see the production process of how they make the vans. So it was very, very interesting. How to see that. We got 20 vans slated for delivery, somewhere between Q2 and Q3 for paratransit, and those are through Forest River. They're going to be CNG vans as well. We have 8 New Flyer Arctic buses slated for delivery in Q1 for the Pulse line. That'll complement the other 4 that we have. And then we have 12 Gillig buses that are between 29 and 40 feet in length that are be due for delivery sometime in the first quarter of 27.
Budget, dollar amount, dollars. What's the average cost for fleet replacement of, if you on an annual basis? Oh, I mean, what frequency are we bringing on additional fleet?
So the fixed route buses are either a 10-year or 12-year vehicle. So they're on that cycle replacement. The vans are much shorter life cycle, so that's every 5 years.
You're stacking it?
What's the, I guess for a bus, what are we looking at lead?
Arctic was 1,072,000.
Oh, yeah, no, it's expensive. What's the lead time?
Lead time depends on the OEM. Yeah, look at
shorter.
It's longer.
It's going longer.
It's getting longer. Yeah, it's getting longer.
Okay.
We purchase, not lease, anything?
All purchase.
All purchase?
Most of this is through grants.
Yeah.
Yes.
All grants, right?
All grants, yeah.
All grant?
Yes, that's why we're getting purchased.
Say it again, John.
28%, usually 28% Fed, 68% BRTT, 4% local. You rate the 2 of the 4 smart scales of the Arctic we got, we used as far as smart scale, which was 100%.
So you're saying grants, state, state and federal?
Yeah, 28% federal, and 68% DRPT, and 4% local, 2% CBTA, and 2% share between Richmond and Waco, Chesapeake.
The state's generous with vehicles. They do 68% of the cost.
And this is just an image of the MCI motor coach bus that's in production. So we will be adding decals later. It's the base color.
They may be.
Big purple. Barney buses.
Are you doing a survey for naming each of the vehicles if you want to throw your name in?
Yeah. I told you I got my 5. Barney, Thanos.
Oh, Grimace.
Grimace. All right. So that concludes our performance report from operations. Yeah. So did you want to have them start and then keep going?
Yeah.
Josh, we're gonna go ahead and jump to WSP.
Okay. If I share my screen, will you all be able to see it on your monitor?
Yes.
Okay, then let me do that. Are you able to see? Okay, great.
I can see.
So as I mentioned, I'm Josh Diamond. I'm a vice president with WSP, and we were brought on about a year ago, maybe a little bit less than that, to perform the paratransit operational analysis for you guys. Overall, the project process was about 10 months long. We're finalizing everything right now and submitting the final details and submissions. But the task did include a performance analysis and an on-site observation visit, a stakeholder engagement effort, a comparative review with a GRTC peer agency, a technology and staffing evaluation, a review of GRT's paratransit operational model, and a commingling assessment, and lastly, the creation of recommendations and an implementation plan. The schedule below that is kind of what we followed throughout the process. It was iterative, and one task led into the other. And as I mentioned, we are submitting the final reports and right now giving this final presentation. We'll be going through all of these different task efforts right now. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Looking at your current performance, GRTC provides roughly 250,000 annual paratransit trips. That was from 2023. And you cover over 2 million revenue miles for paratransit services. Recently, your on-time performance has improved to over 90%, which is great. However, your costs have risen significantly. As you can see on the right-hand side of the screen, between 2017 and 2023, your costs have increased by about 79% overall. Local funding has increased, but as we all know, federal funding is not increasing. And one of the biggest issues that you face are the costs of your Care Plus program, as they are becoming quite extraneous. So going a little bit more into some of the things that we found, you have very viable outcomes for trips, highly viable outcomes for your trips. You have a higher deadhead time and lower vehicle utilization, especially recently. We feel that your software is not being used efficiently, and that impacts your trip planning. And as I mentioned previously, Care Plus costs are climbing at an alarming rate. Some of the recommendations that we made based on your current performance is to make changes to your current relationship with the VIA software that you use. And one thing that we can absolutely say is since we made this observation in March, your relationship with VIA has improved significantly, and your improvements have been achieved already in this regard. So, congratulations to your paratransit team and Kevin and all you guys working there. You are making positive steps already, which is great. We also suggest the development of standard operating procedures, which might help eliminate some of the fuzziness between responsibilities, especially between what GRTC is responsible for and what your third-party provider is responsible for. We also think that you rely on key performance indicators to help you better measure the performance of all of your paratransit services. We suggest that you reestablish your care advisory group. And again, I'm glad to say that this is a step that's already been made, and you are putting together this advisory group right now. And we really do feel that you need to determine a reasonable path forward for the Care Plus program. As I mentioned, we did have some on-site observations as well. We spent a couple days at your facility, looking at your administrative space, the parking, the maintenance, operations, training, dispatch, customer service, any place that we could sit and watch what was going on, we did. We also talked to your leaders as well to get some insights on how you are currently operating the paratransit service. And one thing that we can say is that the administrative space allocation for both GRTC and WeDriveU is complex. Lots of hallways, difficult to get around, especially if you're an operator coming in and getting back out. Your parking lot is far away from the administrative building, and many of your operators did complain about that, especially on cold days and early mornings. We could also say that the collaboration between GRTC and WeDriveU is stretched, but again, the observations we made in March and over the past 9-10 months, we can absolutely say that there have been significantly improved relationships between GRTC and WeDriveU, and you could see that in the positive steps that the service is taking. You've also made recent hires on both sides, hiring people at GRTC and WeDriveU also has a new general manager, and all those hires have made a significant positive impact on your paratransit service. We do feel that We Drive You is insufficiently staffed, although listening to some of your numbers earlier in the meeting, it sounds like that is being overcome as well. Training is good, but a bit inconsistent. Again, listening to your comments earlier, it sounds like some of that has been taken care of as well. And as I mentioned earlier, there are some blurring of responsibilities between GRTC and We Drive You. But again, with your recent hires, those things have also been going or trending more positively. We would suggest hiring additional on-staff site, improve contract oversight, improve the auditing of the performance. And again, those KPIs that we mentioned earlier will help you to do this. And make sure that you have a review of your contract, revise if possible. And again, those KPIs will be key in moving the service forward. As I mentioned, we did talk to a few of your current riders to make sure that we got some qualitative inputs to kind of balance the quantitative assessments that we were doing. And as I noted before, your on-time performance is improving, and that has been noted by your riders as well, which is great to see. And wait times have also been reduced. Most of the complaints that you get from paratransit riders, and as I heard earlier in the meeting, is and if you look at the numbers, your wait times have decreased from 25 minutes just a year ago, which is a pretty sizable improvement for overall wait times. Some of the negatives that were mentioned by your current riders are frequent delays, pickups, and extended trip durations. Thing that we noticed in the data too is that your trip lengths are quite long, which affects on-time performance, but it also means that your deadhead miles are quite high too. So find way. We did a comparative analysis with sorta as a fairly similar agency to GRTC. We also looked at industry best practices as well. Sorta has a lot of the similar issues that you guys currently have. In fact, their price is significantly higher than yours is, but their price has been rising at a similar rate to yours, and they're experiencing some of the same issues that you also experience. They have long trip durations, extraneous deadhead miles, and some of the issues that they experience are because they have very stringent rules on things like on-time performance. I think they're set at like 92% or something like that. So they have to hire more drivers to maintain that the on-time performance metric that they acquire. They also have increased demand on the service, just because overall we've seen paratransit increase has been, or utilization has been increasing. However, the overall difficulty that many of us in the industry find in hiring operators, that's part of the reasons why some of the costs have been going up. They've had to increase benefits, increase rates, wages, and be able to find the necessary drivers. Sort of we used as to see what they were doing, and also to see some of the solutions that they've been trying to put out there to overcome their challenges. We also performed a technology and staffing assessment. And as I mentioned, you use VIA scheduling and dispatch software for your paratransit and microtransit service. And we feel that it had not been used optimally, but this deficiency has been corrected since we made the observation in March, and we applaud that. We noticed that your dispatchers are reactive to the service issues rather than being proactive in monitoring things like on-time performance, the service alerts, traffic conditions, and operator communications. And that might be because they not only have to respond to what they're seeing on their screens, but they're also they're the ones responsible for receiving the calls from irate passengers and people waiting for the service. So that duplicity of their job functions often doesn't allow them to be more proactive in things that they should be monitoring. And we also feel that creating standard operating procedures would help dispatchers and customer service agents better understand the technologies that are available to them, and also the workflows that they should be using to make sure that they're doing their jobs appropriately. We performed an operational model analysis, looking at the current way that you operate your service. You use a hybrid model with many of your operational and maintenance functions being in-house responsibilities. We Drive You as your third-party operator, as we all know. They provide the operators to drive the services. I've placed services for each of the model options on the right-hand side of the screen. As I mentioned, you use the hybrid model, but the other models that are used across the industry are in-house, where 100% of the operating functions are the responsibility of the agency. And the other model is contracted, where 100% of all the operating functions are contracted out to a third-party operator. They each have their positives and negatives, each agency, usually geographic and geopolitical situations, funding and operating controls. So there's many reasons why to choose a specific model. We did suggest that a full turnkey 100% contracted model would likely facilitate the ability to commingle service between your paratransit and your microtransit services. It might also help you identify a new facility if you wanted to take paratransit and microtransit services to a new place, to kind of separate what you're doing with the fixed route and what you're doing with on-demand services, which might actually help operations be more efficient, specifically for paratransit services. However, we realize that it would be quite a big undertaking to take that path. So we also suggested targeted over cross control enhancements to your current model to make the hybrid model a little bit more tenable for your current actions. Lastly, we did put together a number of different recommendations and an implementation plan. We suggested adding a fee for longer distance and premium trips, not only for Care Plus, but for these long distance trips. As I mentioned, your trip distance is continuing to grow as people realize that paratransit is free and you could take it to wherever you basically need to go. So in order to minimize your trip distance and minimize your deadhead usage, we suggest adding a fee for these longer distance and premium trips. As I mentioned earlier, a couple times, finding the right balance between the Care Plus service is important. This will not only minimize who's using the service, but also make sure that it's not being overused by people who could better use fixed route service or either a TNC or a taxi-based service. So we had a couple of different recommendations on how we could improve Care Plus and make it more tenable fiscally. We also suggest providing ADA services only within the ADA required 3/4 of a mile of a fixed route service. There's several different areas across your service area where it looks like areas have been grandfathered in based on where fixed route service used to operate. I would suggest removing those unless there's a specific reason why you're still doing that. We suggested shifting paratransit trips to fixed route or microtransit where possible, or other human services as appropriate. As I mentioned, with paratransit being free, it's so easy just to use it. It's at your need when you request it, and it's too much money. These people should be using fixed route service or microtransit, or there might even be a human service transportation option that is a better fit for them. So we really need to find ways to shift those current paratransit trips to other modes. And lastly, and this one's, I know, is a tough one, and every agency should be doing this, but seek opportunities to increase local funding beyond your current funding pots. And obviously, that's the elephant in the room, right? Everybody wants the new funding, but yeah, where are we going to get it from? So yeah, that was our last recommendation. Thank you for your time. I'm certainly here to answer any questions you might have. Yeah, thank you.
Questions?
Questions?
I had trouble understanding the hybrid commingling, that slide.
Sure. Sorry. Yeah, I kind of ran through that really quickly. It's a lot to consider for sure. So these are actually two separate tasks that you asked us to look at. The first was considering what's the best operational model that GRTC could use to operate paratransit services. We looked at your current model, hybrid, but also considered what it would take for you guys to convert to either operating all the services by yourself or having all the services operated for you 100% by a third-party operator. We looked at the control and oversight, the cost effectiveness of each model, the service integration potential, the operational flexibility, and kind of weighed the pros and cons of each of them. And honestly, I think that if you had the ability, moving to a full turnkey model might be most beneficial for you, but it would take probably 5 years to fully convert to that, based on what you currently own, and what you would need to sell, moving away from having specific control, but it would allow you more flexibility with your overall on-demand services, and that's where I kind of moved into the commingling task. But before I get into that, it is important to recognize that your hybrid model is working for you. So making the drastic step to change to a full turnkey isn't necessary. You can make, like I said, targeted oversight and cross control enhancements to better offer services, making them more efficient and more effective. But we did want to at least provide that option of what it would look like, what the impacts would be, and how it would make your service better if you did have a full turnkey model. The other side of that was the commingling assessment. You currently have the microtransit services, and they operate with similar vehicles. They have similar driver needs. So many agencies are able to commingle their paratransit and microtransit services. One of the issues that you currently have is your paratransit is drivers are from We Drive You, and your microtransit drivers are not. So they're under different labor agreements. So again, moving to a full turnkey, all of your drivers would be under the same collective bargaining agreement, and you would have the flexibility to then commingle, because there wouldn't be different pay scales for the operators of the different services. So any operator, paratransit or microtransit, could shift from one service to the other, so long as they knew the responsibilities of them. Hopefully that helped.
Clear as mud.
Will we get a copy of the report?
For sure, and there's a lot more information in there. It'll be a lot easier to understand, I would imagine.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is more, I guess, for FYI, there's no real board input.
No action.
Action, right?
No, acknowledging it, and as we come forward with some of the recommendations, you guys might come to you guys for kind of a.
Yeah, I think one thing that would be helpful or as a layperson would be to know what is a like low, medium, high effort change. Because like some of the recommendations might be just quick, low hanging fruit. You may have already done it versus like things that require a bigger effort. And then it's kind of hard to see what the actual impact would be if we're recommended to. Like it's like this is a recommendation. All right, well, what does this actually do?
Audit approach or go through and have all the recommendations, and they've done quite a bit already. We've already talked about kind of checking those off, identifying what that change is.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to know that because I mean, I guess the paratransit group is a group sensitive too. I think make sure anything that would change is not. But we want to know what the impacts are going to be.
Yeah.
To that.
We did put together an implementation plan that kind of prioritized some of that low hanging fruit. And that is in the report. Didn't make it to the presentation though. Apologize for that.
Any response from you guys as to the recommendations as to where you feel prioritizing any of them, or some of them you should move forward with, or some of the recommendations that it's not realistic to achieve? You all did any reaction to response to all of the recommendations?
And you can go back to the one that recommends the Care Plus kind of being one of the big recommendations. We've looked at that only from, I guess, the context of the third. So We Drive You is the current provider of We Drive You. But we also have UServe, who does our on demand, and their cost differences are pretty substantial. And so we've looked at what if Care Plus went to the Care on Demand model from a cost saving. So we've talked about it since that was kind of the high level recommendations as kind of a big cost for us. But right now we have to kind of look at it in respect to the rest of our service because kind of the zero fare piece is playing a factor in the fact that Care Plus is currently zero fare, even though it's a premium service, and that's what it's been for the last 5 years, versus the Care on Demand model, the rider actually pays a portion of the cost. So is there a model that could work that could both basically combine them without being inequitable to the current users? So we are diving into that. But yeah, you can't just make one change because people are using whole system without kind of severing it. And also it's a group that has to qualify. So we want to just make sure we are definitely dive into it and realize that whole impacts to the individuals before we, and any of the groups, but this one being especially disabled and seniors qualified.
And that is tricky because paratransit users are, stretched thin already. And so we've got microtransit, which is free. It all meshes together and it doesn't, it seems like we need to really be fair and equitable across all of our services.
Taking a step back and looking at it from the complete lens. And Catherine and I had a pretty good conversation, nothing that really will hit some of these big numbers. But it was a conversation we had when it was it King's Market? When it had closed down, and we talked about a shuttle, and we talked about maybe a good way was to teach individuals how to use the grocery store app, because that is a digital divide learning curve. Evan had seen it actually as a pilot at another agency. So we actually talked to Feedmore yesterday just to kind of explore that concept, because we know it happens in the nonprofit world related to SNAP. So there is our individuals may not necessarily be SNAP recipients, but they clearly are a transportation hindrance. So trying to figure out if there's a model for those who are using our service for the grocery store to kind of help dollars for delivery fee. But also it's just not a comfort that people are used to. So maybe that's kind of an opportunity. So we're looking at continuing conversation to do a pilot either overall as a system or within a jurisdiction. And that's not just for paratransit, but we talked about deserts as well. It's not being of us, but it's transportation.
Very innovative approach to food insecurity, while also, trying to reduce our costs. Also, it's a great benefit to the riders who depend on public transportation to and from the grocery store because they're limited on the number of bags they can carry. We know when you go to the grocery store, how many bags you fill up your trunk. And, our riders, they aren't able to do that. And
So
so
are you finding that that's one of the greater use of the service is to grocery stores?
it is.
Really? Interesting.
I mean, if you think about it, if they don't have transportation, they still have to get to the grocery store, So, yeah, I think it's a very, very innovative. It would be very creative. And I think it would really have a focus on GRTC, which could really get something like that.
I think that leads to a greater conversation that we should be having as it relates to, food deserts, how difficult it is for people to even get to find a grocery store, a full service grocery store, and whether or not there's a partnership opportunity with the grocery stores as it relates to us. I think that's a greater conversation that we really need to have.
Yeah.
We get a lot of requests all the time. People want us to bring a grocery store, to their area, and that's not easy to do neither.
Right.
But you would think that there would be an opportunity for a partnership with the grocery store and their consumer.
Right.
with us working on a transportation process.
Yeah, yeah. And not that, I mean, if the subsidy is the fee, that if we even, let's say, took on that fee, that is a lot less than we're paying for them to have to go back and forth. It's per trip.
Right, right.
It's like $100 round trip.
I mean, I like the delivery piece where it comes to my door is, you know, you're right, you only can carry so many bags on transportation, public transportation.
That's something we're trying to explore and will in the new year.
Any of these additional business opportunities present themselves as an entrepreneur opportunity partnership that I don't know that any of them generate enough revenue for it to be an independent, functional, for-profit business.
What are you referencing, the delivery or the?
Delivery possibility.
I mean, there's those that are already in existence, like Instacart or Uber.
Right.
Or DoorDash, and I think Feedmore had a contract currently with DoorDash for those that you just described, who for more on a meals situation, not full. I guess it's still full groceries. Where those who can't make it to the food pantries will get they can DoorDash will take that on and deliver it. So it'd be a model similar to that, but our niche is a little bit different since they're not necessarily they don't need to go to the food bank to get the food. It's more of they just need can afford it, but the food needs to be brought to them. So that's something that's not currently being, I guess.
That some of that was used for their homebound.
Oh, yeah, they did say, okay, yeah, so that's not quite exact, but similar. Yeah.
A majority of
the
those
DoorDash.
that are using that, yeah.
Because that's why they couldn't come. Yeah, which is a reason for it also being transportation. Yeah, and then like who would be the one to do the education if you did want to? I think they do the app for that, or just probably direct communication. But
Who's they?
Like, who would be? Is there an entity out there that does education on technology for apps? That's not necessarily the organization we talk to doesn't necessarily do that. So we're trying to figure out who that would be, as we wouldn't necessarily take that on. We would just partner.
Right.
How to use the DoorDash app in order to get the delivered. Or Walmart or Kroger, you know, whatever grocery store.
I just feel like that's part of the issue. Education.
It's an interesting concept. Yeah. We're talking about some more. I mean, I know one challenge is a lot of people they like to live off of cash. That's probably one of the challenges.
Yeah.
That. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's worth.
There's a way around that too. I'm not sure.
Well, you know, like, for example, Walmart, you could use a Walmart gift card on the app. You know, that's pre-filled.
Yeah.
You know, that could be oftentimes too, online prices are cheaper than in-store prices. That's like another advantage for users. I know. I use the app every chance I get.
Yeah.
Grocery shopping is the last thing I want to do. So, you know, that could very well also be, you know, a positive. Because it would reduce their costs. EBT cards are accepted also online on those apps. So those that have those benefits could use it for that also. But I wouldn't think the delivery fee would be included on that, just the payment of the groceries. But educating people on that part of it, you know, that their EBT cards can be used for that. And you need to find that partnership.
Education, the main thing.
It's a very exciting concept.
You know, it seems to be the way the world is going. I mean, you know, everybody's having everything delivered to the doorstep, and I think people are much more accustomed to that now.
So TriMet in Portland, Oregon actually has an agreement with Instacart directly to give eligible paratransit riders access to grocery delivery without needing to use transit for the trip itself. So it might be worth reaching out to Instacart themselves to see if they'd be interested in doing something similar with you guys.
That's both with primary.
This department be willing to educate.
Right, right.
Any other
Okay.
questions for,
Comments? Bold of you all to do your self-evaluation and analysis, and I think they always turn out to point out things that are very helpful, and it's up to us to figure it out what is most helpful and how to make it happen. But thank you for the report. Appreciate it. Dave, you have any questions? Comments?
No, it was very thorough, and I think they caught the elephant in the room pretty well.
Okay, what else is on this agenda? That's it?
operations? That's it.
All right. Any unfinished business? Okay, guys, thank you all very much. Keep up the good work.
If you want to talk about how we want to do this at the board meeting, like this report out from me, or
If she's comfortable, usually the committee chair kind of takes the, get you some notes.
Fine, I'm more than happy to give it a stab, but,
I'll be this.
I also appreciate the fact that you guys do the hard work. I mean, I want to make sure that you get the recognition for the hard work that you're doing across the board. And so, you know,
I can give you some clip notes.
nobody's going to tell the story as completely as you guys do. All right, is that it? Okay, then this meeting is adjourned.